Welcome to Dropping In, a podcast of storytelling and interviews with your host, Winter Olympian Mercedes Nickel.
Thank you so much for dropping in today. We are still on Series 6, which is all about what it was like to be on the road. I was on the road for about 20 years, snowboarding, living out of a suitcase, living on the road. It was amazing. I loved it. And I have talked to so many other athletes to see what it was like for them. Did you know in episode 55 that they cut a rowing boat in half to fly to Europe? Super interesting facts here on Dropping In. Let me introduce episode 56 guest that we will be dropping in with today. But first, let me shed some light on the sport that this athlete played. This team sport was invented in 1887 in Chicago as an indoor game. It was brought to the Olympics in 96, then later dropped from the games in 2012. Then it came back last summer for the Tokyo Games. This tournament features 6 15-player teams. It's one of the 3 sports at the Olympics that consists only of women. This game has 7 innings rather than 9. The ball is larger and must be pitched underhand. The field and diamond are smaller than baseball. Now, if you guessed softball, then you're correct. This athlete is from Trail, BC, has gone to her 3rd Olympic Games in 2021, having played at the 2004 Games placing 5th and the 2008 Games just missing the podium and the bronze medal game. The summer 2021 Games, she took home the bronze medal for Canada. Putting down the ball for 8 years, she brought 3 children into this world. Sports runs deep through her family. Her uncle is a 2-time Olympian in decathlon. Her brother played for 5 MLB teams, and her husband own and run track athletics. This mother, daughter, sister, business owner, 3-time Olympian, bronze medalist at the Olympics in 2020, spends a lot of time on the road. Let me introduce Lauren Regula. How are you?
Good. How are you? That was an intro.
That
Wow.
was a lot. You've done a lot. You've been a busy woman.
True. All good. All good stories. Good stories to tell when I'm older.
Amazing. So on dropping in, I start with 10 rapid fire questions that are never rapid. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Okay. Number 1, what is the one thing you traveled with that was a must-have for your sport?
For my sport,
Yeah.
well, my glove. So my
Your
glove went in, yeah, my glove went in my carry-on. My glove went with me everywhere.
Amazing. And did you only have 1 or did you have a backup?
I only had one. I
Oh,
actually carried a backup for training. Then when I went to the games, I was trying to lighten the load and I went with my one.
wild. So snowboarding, I usually carry like at least 2 snowboards. So that's super interesting. Okay. Number 2, who might be the most high profile contact in your phone right now?
Great question. Oh, that's a tough one. Most high profile I mean, I guess I'll go with my brother. Played ten seasons in Major League Baseball, 3-time All-Star. I'll go with him.
Nice. That's a good answer. Number 3, what is the top song or playlist that you've been listening to lately?
Great question. So, you're gonna maybe laugh, and maybe your listeners will laugh. One of my favorite songs in the playlist, I'll just say the song though, it's actually called Pug, and it's not a normal real song, but my kids
Yeah.
are obsessed with pugs and they found it. And when I was really missing home and I was really needed to kind of ground myself because I had to travel away from my family, I would put it on. And I still put it on, and it just like as soon as I put it on, it puts a smile on my face.
Oh my gosh, I also love pugs. I grew up with pugs. Do you have pugs?
Okay, spoiler alert, our very first ever dog that is a pug comes in 2 months.
Oh my gosh. Do the
Yep.
kids know?
They do. We actually went and visited and yes, so we've never been owned a dog, and for whatever reason, my children decided to have an obsession with pugs. It's probably going on 4 years now, and we have been beaten down.
You're
Yeah.
not gonna regret it. They have so much personality. They're so cute. One thing you have to do is clean in their nose, though. That's
So
kind of the
I'm
grossest part.
doing all the research, but, we actually had said when I was going to the Olympics, their dad, my husband was like, "If mom wins a medal, we'll get a pet." And all of a sudden that day came and we're like, "Holy crap, we have to talk about this now."
They have the most personality. Are you getting like a champagne colored one?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna to have you back on just to see the dog. So awesome. Pug is your top song. Cool. Number 4, if you could go back to the Olympics, would you choose summer or winter? You've done 3 summer.
So, you know what? I was gonna say I think I'm gonna try I would love to do something different. We'll go winter.
Yes. Do you have a sport that you might try that would be winter?
I mean, no. I do have a friend of mine that was a pitcher for softball that got into skeleton. I don't think I could do it because it scares me to watch it, but she said pitching translates really well, so I'm gonna trust her on that.
Really?
Yep,
That seems really random.
yep. Yeah, she was talking about pitching because you have the ball, all eyes are on you, the intensity, the
Right.
focus. So she was saying that it's actually she was able to translate her skill set very well. So
So wild. And she's a sprinter as well, I would assume?
I think she was in college. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wo
So
cool.
very interesting. I don't know if I could do it, but right now that would probably be my best bet.
The funniest thing, I talked to a lot of, like, lugers, bobsledders, and skeleton, and they say skeleton is, like, the easier one, which seems crazy because 'cause you're going head first.
Yeah, just
But
watching it.
oh my gosh.
Yep.
Wild, wild, wild. Okay, number 5. If you were invisible, what's the first thing that you would do?
Oh my gosh, these are great questions. Honestly, you're catching me on a night since I have 3 kids. I would probably see what my kids do at night.
Yeah, 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 that makes total sense. Nice. Number 6, big city or small town?
Can't say both. I'll say small town.
And where are you right now?
Akron, Ohio. Yeah. We moved from
Ohio.
Chicago. We moved from the
Okay.
big city. Having a family has made me really appreciate small town.
Yeah, I'm a small town girl too, in Whistler. Number 7, biggest risk that you've taken?
Honestly, saying yes to getting back into the athlete pool after 12 years,
Yeah.
6 of which were in a pretty big downside of depression, and after my kids, and when I got the opportunity to get back in the athlete pool after only playing maybe 2 to 3 months in the last 12 years, I said yes. So that was my biggest risk.
Amazing. And are you still playing?
Nope, I'm officially done.
Officially retired? Because we don't know what's gonna happen at the next Olympics, right?
Well, softball's out
It's
already.
out already.
Oh, yeah,
Ah.
yeah,
Well, big ups to Tokyo for bringing it back.
totally, totally.
Okay. Okay. So 3 Olympics, you just finished the one of probably the craziest Olympics that has ever happened due to the global pandemic. Looking back, would you say that your view on all of your Olympics, do you think your view on the Olympics has changed now that you have retired?
No, I don't think so at all. I also think I'm fortunate because I've actually retired and unretired 3 times. So I've
Yeah.
had a little bit of the Brett Favre, like, I know what it looks like on the other side, but
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think my view of the Olympics consistently has changed based on the further I move away from it, but it
Okay.
hasn't changed any differently than it had the other times.
Yeah, that's crazy to have, like, because going to 4 Olympics and then stopping and reflecting back, I was like, "What a whirlwind." Like, that's so crazy. So to have gone and then retired and gone and then retired, that's something else to think about.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. I did 2, I did '04 and '08 back to back, so I
Yeah, yeah.
understand what that was like.
Mhm.
I can't even wrap my head around what 4 quad cycles to
Just so
then
much
be
life.
right? No, totally, and then to be all of a sudden you're like, "Whoa, every single thing I've done
Yeah,
was for those that moment every 4 years."
yeah. It's
So
something else.
Yeah.
I appreciate, though, your perspective on, like, having that gap, and then you had your kids, and you had a light like that, and then going back. Oof, many congrats on that. Okay, number 9. What would you say the best way to travel is?
The be my answers are probably gonna be so maybe different. The best way to travel for me is with my family,
Oh,
but, and honestly, Tokyo was so hard because when I agreed to go back into the athlete pool, the pandemic hadn't started. So I had this idea
right.
that I would be able to see my family and bring my family and have those moments where they could come with us and so to all of a sudden then be told, "Hey, you get 1, maybe 2 visits in 6 months with your family," like it put a lot of perspective, put a lot of perspective. So as much as I love traveling,
Yeah,
and I find it very therapeutic and very relaxing, I really understood what it was like on the other side.
for sure. I like that answer, traveling with family. I also love traveling with family. My parents are awesome.
I hope my kids say that.
Oh, they will when they're a little bit older. I think the teenage years not so great, but number 10, what would be the top 3 places that you have traveled, either with sport or without?
Number 1, South Africa for sure, and
Yeah.
we're planning on my husband and we're planning on bringing the family back one day. It's absolutely incredible.
Where did you go in South Africa? Just South Africa or a couple other provinces?
No, we were in South Africa. We did the whole Cape Town, so we did the city, then we did, Hansbaai, which was a shark diving, and then we did wine country in Franschhoek, and then we went off to, um, a safari.
Yeah.
So it literally we hit all the pieces. We saw so much of the history of, Cape Town, and it was so educational, and I think that's why we loved it. It wasn't just go sit on a beach. It
Yeah.
was so educational and adventurous at the
Yeah.
same time being in this just majestic place. So
So
that's
beautiful.
for sure number 1.
Wait, but can we just talk about shark diving for a second?
Yes.
Were you in a cage or, like, free
Yes.
flying?
Do you have a second to tell the story?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm a little nervous. So true, this is a true story. It was my husband and I's our honeymoon. We go and the shark diving, all of the companies have been canceled because of weather. And they
Okay.
had been canceled for the last week. So they're like, we're going to go. However, the weather's kicking up and they started saying that they've already put a bunch of the chum out. They have to bring a boat to go get it. So we're sitting in this room and every single person in this room, except for us,
Yeah.
a couple from England and a man from Germany all got up and left. And I said to Dave, my husband, I go, "I'm not going on this boat." And he just looks at me, he goes, "Lauren, they wouldn't go out if they didn't think it was safe. They're going to go out. This is going to be amazing. We're going to have so much cage time," because there was like 20 people in the room. All of a sudden now there's 5.
Oh my gosh.
So
Okay, okay,
we
okay.
we get on the boat and we get on that water and there is like 20-foot swells.
Waves.
I'm
Mhm.
talking, I mean, I'm sure to people who actually surf, maybe that's not high. I was not prepared for what it was like out there.
Mm.
The 2 people from England spent the entire time puking over the front of the boat. So it
That
was
might be me.
just so it was just me, my husband, and a man from Germany.
Okay.
So we get there and they're like, "Okay, well, we're here." They picked up all the stuff, but they're like, "We're here. Does anyone want to get in the cage?" And my husband and this guy from Germany are like, "Let's go." And I felt sick. I didn't know even what to think of it. So
Oh gosh.
I'm thinking, well, I'm here. I
Yeah.
may as well get in the cage. So I get in the cage, and sure enough, they get these great whites. They put the chum in, coming right at the cage. I see whether or not it was more than one great white or the same one over and over. So I
Mhm.
saw him, and it was incredible. And you have, your hands on the bars. There's no scuba or anything. You just have your hands on the bars, and what they tell you, okay, go down, look to your right. So you pull yourself down, you look around, and then when they move, you get back up. The entire time I'm down there, I'm thinking, a swell's going to hit this boat and it is going to capsize, and you're locked in the cage. Like they lock it. So
Right.
it can't open accidentally.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'm going to drown in here because we're going to capsize and I'm going to be stuck in this cage and I can't get out. So I see what I consider enough of the Sharks.
Yeah.
I think, your thumbs up means get out. The okay means like I'm good, but I'm like,
Yeah.
thumbs up, get me out. I need to be off and out of here, right? So I get out and I'm just sitting on the side, pretty much just like staring like an eagle eye, like looking at all of the waves. And
Yeah.
finally they're like, okay, we need to get in now. So long story short, we get out. Obviously, I'm here, everything's fine.
Yeah.
However, that was in
Okay.
November. In January, national news, in the exact same place we were, boat got hit by waves, capsized, and there were unfortunately fatalities on the boat. And I sent it to my husband and I said, I knew I wasn't being crazy. I knew I wasn't being crazy. It is absolutely possible that that could have actually happened. And so, long story short, it was
Holy
incredible and one of the most heart. I wish I had a heart rate monitor on. It would have been worse. It would have been higher than probably any training I had done ever.
Right, yeah, for sure. Oh, like, props to you for getting in there. I mean, I get the, like, you're out there, you gotta do it, but holy moly!
Yes. So anyways, long story,
No, I
we
loved
keep
it.
going.
That was a really great story. And that was before you had kids?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
wow, okay.
And then Australia would be another. We went to the reef, which was incredible. One of those things you want to see with your own eyes.
Yeah,
And then I would say my next place, after Athens, we had the ability to, they said, when do you want to come home
yeah.
after the games? And so we just picked our ticket for 5 weeks after, and a bunch of teammates and I just backpacked all through Europe, and it was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah,
So sweet. 5 weeks, that's a long time too.
totally.
How many of you were on that trip?
4 to 5. We lost one, like, one went home
Okay,
after, but, yeah, I was in that great spot as an athlete where I was done college and I had nothing to go back. I
yeah,
only had softball to go back to, and because the games were over, we were taking a break.
yeah.
So, some of my teammates had to go back to school, some actually had jobs that they had to get back
And
for,
you're like, "I'm
so
free flying in
yep.
Europe."
How long can you stay? I'll choose that.
Yes. Okay, so that was the rapid fire with some amazing stories. Now I want to get into what it was like to travel on the road with those girls. Like for me, we traveled girls and guys and we would all like sometimes we would all be in the same house. A lot of the times we would be in hotels, so I would always have to share a room. One of my teammates were always like, "Yeah, it was weird not sleeping with you last night." Because you just become like this close family, but you're competing against them, but you were in a team environment. So give us an inside scoop of what it was like to be on the road with all those girls.
Yeah, so I have a bunch of different we went so many different places, so I have
Mhm.
a bunch of different stories. So, I'll say at the start, we started off in Halifax, and we actually stayed at basically a military dorm, which was something, yeah, we had never done. So that
Okay.
was super interesting. Again, you do everything you can to get to where you need to make sure you're good for the Olympics. And our
Yeah.
head coach, he lived in Halifax. It made a lot of sense. We had access being in Canada and being in, snow. There's only so many places you can be. So we had access to an awesome dome and indoor facilities, and our training, our strength coach was from there as well. So we got to go to his gym, get put in
Perfect.
all the off-season work. So it was awesome, but it was also one of the most unique situations. We each had our own dorm,
Okay.
but there was like really one main bathroom, right? It was like who's in the shower, and there was another bathroom down the side, but it was just very much you have 15 to 20 women who are just trying to plan their schedules around where we know we're all going to be at practice, and therefore
Yeah.
there's the one shower open, and it's like who's in line
Oh my
and how can you
goodness.
mark that it's my turn.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
so that was interesting, but we each had our own dorm, which was cool. And then we went from there. We actually trained in Florida for a while. And I
Okay.
will say this, I was on Team Canada for a long time, and we would usually share hotel rooms. But
Yeah.
in this case, I called home and I was like, Mom, Dad, I actually feel like I'm a professional athlete, because we had Airbnbs that were
Oh,
in Florida that were absolutely incredible. We all had our own pools and hot tubs, and we each had our own.
swanky. Are you sure you were
Totally.
on Team Canada?
Totally. I had never had that feeling of, oh my gosh, this is what it's like. They were gorgeous.
Yes.
Um, and there was 3 to 4 in a house, and
Okay.
sometimes people had to share a room depending if it's a 3-bedroom and there was 4 people, so you either drew straws or friends who were really close,
Yeah.
chose to sleep in the same room.
Mhm.
So that was some of our experience, which I'm super excited to share because it was awesome. I was like, "This is truly living." I would call my
Yeah.
like, call my husband and my kids who were back in Ohio in March, and there's just snow everywhere, and I'd just be at the pool like, "Oh, life's tough right now." Um, so we did that, and then the same thing, that you probably experienced, hotel rooms. We would just
Mhm.
stay, usually 2 to a room if
Yeah.
we were traveling to play games or play tournaments or whatever that looked like.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we actually did dorms at Southern Illinois University. We were actually in dorms as well. So we stayed
Wild.
at colleges. We've stayed at a lot of colleges actually through my years.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so, random question, living in hotel rooms, um, would you have, like, a buffet that was provided, or would you be, like, using the one little tiny microwave?
We usually just got per diem, and
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
you could wake up and then go get your per diem. So a lot of our team would make a Starbucks run or go
Yeah.
get breakfast.
Okay.
And then we we always were provided a post-game meal. And
Oh,
then
nice.
you would have either per diem to go get, meal on your own, or yeah, you would use the hotel
Yeah.
microwave
There's
and little
usually the microwave. I know. One of my teammates, I thought it was so weird. She would do, like, eggs in the microwave. I was like, "No, I cannot. I cannot."
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and this year was different than most because of COVID, we were very particular. We did not like, if we went to Starbucks, it was mask through the drive-through, right? Like, we weren't allowed to go in anywhere or do
Yeah.
anything for most of the time, and so it was groceries being delivered to a hotel, right? Because we
Yes.
were doing everything that we could not to be out with everybody. So it was a little bit different this year than it normally would be, and I do think that may have also contributed to more meals being provided for us because it was just our
Yeah.
team and our bubble. They would bring it to a room, call
Right.
us and say, "Oh, lunch is here." So now that I'm recalling that, that was a big driving factor too.
Right, and then would that be, like, pre-made food? Because it's so hard being in a hotel room and trying to, like, make food with, like, you have nothing. You don't have plates. You don't have, like, cutlery. It's people think it's super glamorous, and you're like, "It's actually kinda difficult."
It's super difficult. The thing I learned to do was get, vanilla yogurt and granola
Yeah.
because I wasn't it's really hard to cook, but I at least felt like I can get some protein, I can get some sustenance,
Mhm.
like, I'll be good if I could at least have that, and bananas. I would cut up bananas, and it was just in the fridge, and I didn't have to worry about anything, but you're right, we totally went and bought, like, again, through Instacart or through, Amazon. We Amazoned a lot as well.
Yeah, okay.
We just bought a lot of really inexpensive forks and knives, knowing that you're not
Yeah,
gonna keep them,
yeah.
but if it gets lost in,
In
transport,
transit, yeah. It's okay.
and
Isn't
it's
that hilarious?
yeah,
I
and
think
it's
it's
not
just
glamorous at all, like, it is very difficult to eat
yeah.
really well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the funniest thing is people are like, "Wow, you got to travel the world, you saw everything," and I'm like, "Well, I saw a lot of hotels, you saw a lot of diamonds," and, like, it's kinda like a business transaction.
Oh, I know, absolutely. That's why I was so thankful for after the games when you had the freedom, and that's where, even my Australia trip, we actually had trained in Australia
Okay.
for, both in '04 and in '08. We made trips over to Australia. Obviously, 2021, we tried, but with COVID, it wasn't
I
possible. But it's
know.
just great because the weather's great. We have a great relationship with them. We can get out, do what we need to do to prepare when it's snowing
Mhm.
in Canada. Um, but even there, we trained, I think, for 6 weeks in Australia. But we were going back to Canada and everyone got a couple weeks off. So with our
Yeah.
couple weeks off, I just elongated my stay so I
So
could
smart.
actually go out and do all the things that, you want to see when you're in Australia.
Exactly, and that's the way to do it. If there are athletes listening, wanna know how to do it, if you can, always try and, like, stay maybe a couple days, maybe in your case, a couple weeks to, like, actually see what the place you're in is all about.
Totally.
Such a good tip. Any other wild stories? Like, did all the girls get along?
I will totally honest, and I can't say this with all my teams.
Yeah.
I definitely had our '08 team was pretty splintered, is probably a good way to put it. We
Okay.
didn't necessarily jive as a
Mhm.
team, and I can say this team was incredible. And I think as someone who's been away from the game and able to step back in '08, not only did we lost, and so I left the game in heartache because that was going to be it for me. That was done.
Right.
Um, so not only did we were in a medal game and we
Mhm.
lost, so that was heartache, but it also was a very difficult team. That it wasn't a good experience
Right.
from many people, right? There was just a
Mhm.
lot of different strong personalities, and we never found that magic ingredient to step on the field and really gel together.
Yeah.
And so I remember when this opportunity came up to play again, I just I was thinking, I have an opportunity to do this all over again. I mean,
Mhm.
how many times in your life do you get this opportunity to go back and, Bruce Springsteen's playing Glory Days in the background, and you can actually, instead of saying, what would you do differently, actually do something differently.
Yes.
So I was able to go back and do some things differently and be part of a team
Yeah.
that was so for each other. And like you said, you're in hotel rooms with people that you're competing against. Even though we're on the same team, it's the same in terms of you're competing against a spot, right? Like we have 4 pitchers, only one person's out there. We have, multiple shortstops and infields. We have multiple outfielders. And so infielders and outfielders. So
Yeah.
you're with the people that you are directly competing with. In our case this year, I can say from the bottom of my heart, it was, I'm competing to make you better because I want the best person out on that field. And if
Oh
it's
my gosh.
awesome. And here's the thing, I'm not going to say that everything was always rainbows and butterflies. Do we
Yeah.
have disagreements? Do we have to figure out how to get 15 minds to work as one and agree and be okay to move on, even if we're have differencing of opinions? Of course, we had to work through everything a team did, but I can tell
Mhm.
you, I've never been on a team where I felt like everybody wanted everybody else's success as much as they wanted their own. And it was
Isn't
pretty
that
awesome.
wild? And then the stars aligned, bronze medal.
And that's the thing we say, and it's the best finish Canada's ever had. And
Yes.
I'll say it's almost like we had an extra person on the field. That synergy, that
Mhm.
underlying, connection.
Yeah.
As cheesy as it may seem, but I really believe that was something that a lot of teams were missing, and we had it, and we were able to use it.
I can only imagine like 15 girls on a team, there's gotta be some kind of toxicity at some points. We had 4 like 4 to 6 girls on the team, and sometimes it wasn't always great, but, you make it work, and it is what it is. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Any other, quick stories that you have from being on the road? Anything, like, random that would happen?
Anything random well, I don't know. I think I did this year. We had the craziest travel year. So,
Mhm.
or travel day, excuse me. We actually timed it because when we realized that we had to talk about on the road, we had to drop our rental cars off in Florida off at midnight. And so when we found out the schedule to get to Tokyo, we
Oh,
were like, holy crap. So our nutritionist and our strength coach and our physio made us a plan. Okay, here's how we want to get on Tokyo time, right?
yeah,
So we were literally, our travel day went a little something like this. Stay up, pack, don't fall asleep, drop your rental cars off. It ended up being at 11.
yeah.
So we get to the airport. I'm a driver. I'm one of the older. I was by far the oldest person. Not one of the older ones, and by far the oldest. I as a driver, 5 of us, I think, we're sitting at the airport after dropping off the vans,
Yeah.
and we're like, "Dude," we're texting people, we're like, "Where are you?" Well, the bus didn't know they had to come pick us up. So the bus was already on its way to Orlando, which is a 4-hour drive or so. So the bus comes around
Without you on it.
without us on it. So the bus comes around, picks us back up. We get to Orlando,
Yeah.
and nothing's open. The kiosks aren't open. No one's there to check us in. So we're just there, and everyone's like, stay up, can't sleep. And we're all just so tired, right? Because at this point, it's still in
Zombies.
the morning.
Yeah.
One of the funniest things, too, is our strength coach gave us this do not sleep here, sleep here. And we look over on the bus, and he's just out cold. And we're like, what are you going to do? Like, you're the one saying we can't sleep right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So we get to Orlando. Finally, we're allowed to check in at about 5 a.m., I think, around there. Our flight leaves around 7. We're still all up. So we go from Orlando to LA. So keep in mind now it's, I don't know, midday. We've already been traveling since 11 in the morning. Now we're in LA. We have to wait for a couple hours, get on our flight to Japan. We get on our flight to Japan and we're allowed to sleep there. So I'm trying to sleep. The good news was we were able to travel in COVID times, which means the flights weren't full at all. So we had like a row to ourselves, which was incredible.
Yes.
So we slept there. We show up to Tokyo and we've already been up for 30 hours. It's been a 30-hour travel day, right? Like think of like a 12-hour travel day, then like add 16 hours, all of a sudden you're at 20 hours. We've now been traveling for just under 30 hours. They show up in Japan. We have all of our stuff. We're going to a host city up in Anjo. It's called Anjo City.
Okay.
We have another 6-hour drive. And they show up and they show us their van or their buses. And their buses are Japanese buses. They're not like American, Canadian. They're not big.
No.
And I'm like, I don't know how we're going to fit on here. I don't see us fitting on here. They brought a secondary bus to put all of our equipment, but there still wasn't enough room. So people had to sit side by side. Not everybody, but some people had to fold the seat down in the middle and sit there, which they had no back.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, in the middle. Right.
Yes, the middle one. So there's no back, so you can't get comfortable. And we've already been up for 30 hours or traveling for 30 hours. So I'm sitting next to my teammate, Jen Salling, and we were sharing, and they were so small. My knees were like hitting in front of me. And I sat there rocking back and forth. I'm like, I thought I was going to go into an insane asylum right there. I was like, I don't know if I can do it because I was so claustrophobic. You couldn't even walk up and down
the aisle,
up and down the bus.
No.
There's bags everywhere and people everywhere.
A 6-hour drive.
For 6 hours. And I want to say, I can't remember the exact time. Was it every hour and a half or 2 hours? It's mandatory for the bus drivers to stop. So we would just stop for 20 minutes. So they would have their break. And I would be like rocking, hitting my head, like, on the seat, was hitting, like kind of tapping it on the seat in front of me going, I don't know if I can do this. Like I felt like I started to help hyperventilate because I couldn't stretch out and it had been 30 hours. So we stopped the time and it was a 36-hour travel day. We finally got there super late at night. But it was probably the most arduous travel day I can say I've ever had.
I know. And then coming back, the time change from Tokyo always crushed me.
Crushed.
Like for like a solid week, I'd be like, ooh. I don't know what.
Oh, mine was longer, I think. See, there we're lucky because when you get there, they're like, here's your schedule and you have to be up and you have to be, we were on fields and I remember thinking, oh, I'm really tired and I'm trying to quit. But you just have to get into it, right? Like you go to Tokyo and you just got to get into it, get on a field. And I would rather have that short-term pain, but know that I'll be adjusted quicker. Coming home was slightly more difficult. Totally.
I love it. Oh my gosh. So fun on the road with you. Where can people find you online?
You can find me on Instagram, Lauren Regula. You can find me on Facebook. Same thing. Lauren Bay Regula. Bay is my maiden name. And I also have a Facebook group for moms. It's called Strong Mom. You can find me there too.
Awesome. And then your business. Do you want to plug your business real quick?
I mean, sure. So I have Track Athletics, which is an in-person facility that my husband and I own. And then I have Strong Mom, which is an online business. We actually help moms in Canada. We actually have our furthest one was in Switzerland, Hawaii, Canada. And all over the States. But we just help moms, at the end of the day, I had depression, but I was able to get myself in a place where I could say yes to the things that I wanted to do and the things that filled my cup. And I want to help moms not necessarily get out of depression. That's not my tool set, but go from feeling okay to feeling amazing. So Strong Mom is my online business.
Head over to Strong Mom. Lauren, thank you so much for dropping in today. Your stories are amazing, and I know the listeners love them all.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
So much for dropping in today. You can find everything you want to know about dropping in with Mercedes at droppinginwithmercedes.com. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks DJ Kenosis for the music and my mom for the intro voice.